So, hey there, beautiful people. I asked for questions a couple weeks ago, and another great question came in from Deborah. And her question was, what is your current thought about a paleo or a keto diet? Well, today, since that is such a hot topic right now, I want to cover it. I want to tell you what they both are. They are alike, but they are very different in a lot of ways. And I'm gonna give you the likes, the differences, but also I want to tell you which one I think may be the healthier choice for you. So stay tuned, and it is coming right up. So hey there, this is Lindy Ford, registered dietitian, clinical and licensed nutritionist, and nutrition detective. So the question was from Deborah, what are my thoughts about the keto eating plan and the paleo? Well, first of all, just if you could just like this video, if you do, I'd really appreciate it. And also, if you could subscribe to this channel, there is just going to be a boatload of information that is going to benefit you and your family, and we would just love to have you in our family here on YouTube. So thank you for subscribing. But let's get into that. So before we even go on to the likes and we just need to know what they are, basically. And they are both lower carb, so lower processed food eating plans, and they're both fairly high. There's a big difference, but they're fairly high in protein and fat. So they are alike in some ways in that they're lower carb, lower than the average American diet or a vegan diet. I actually wrote an article, and it's on my website. I'm going to link it below. I really covered what paleo was in depth, and I actually compared it to a vegan diet. And there's pros. They can both be very healthy, and they can both be very unhealthy depending on the quality of the food that you eat. And I really was very fair. I interviewed people, and I was very fair, and I went back and forth as to the pros and the cons of both programs. So paleo, I covered in depth there, but basically what it is, it's supposed to be mimicking the eating of our Paleolithic ancestors. Okay, so there is anything that wasn't available then, they don't eat now, and that is, there is no grains, no legumes, no dairy. So it's completely out, and mostly it's grass-fed meats, low glycemic veggies, some fruits, but the lower sugar fruits like berries. And I would say that it is more high protein, moderate fat, moderate to low carbohydrates. So if you were going to do and track your macros are proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. You only have 3 macros, guys: proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. If you were to say where do they fall as far as percentage wise, which you can actually track on an app, your protein would be about 25%, fat would be 50%, and then your carbs would be approximately, this is approximate, guys, this is not like set in stone. There's not a paleo handbook that you have to, it has to be just like this, but it's approximately 25% carbohydrate. And so keto is a little bit different. Keto has been around really since, I think, the 1920s as more of a therapeutic thing. We found out during that time that it was very therapeutic for epileptics and people who are prone to seizures. And what it is very low carb. I mean, almost carbs are, hard to find on a keto diet. It is actually moderate protein, but the big difference is that it is very, very high fat. So I guess the macros, you could break it down into, the keto macros would be 20% protein, 70% fat, and about 10% carbohydrate. Other diseases that keto is clinically known, this is in research, clinically known to help would be some kind of cancer, some cancers, as well as migraines, and of course epilepsy, or people who have seizures. Now, a lot of people are getting on the keto bandwagon right now, and because it does help with some weight loss. And the reason for that is because with a keto program, your body is going into something called ketosis. And what ketosis is that you are no longer using very many carbs. There's no carbs to be found, glucose, as your energy or your main energy source. What you're using are ketone bodies that are made from the liver in response to the fact that there's no glucose around. So we got to do something. It's almost like a survival mechanism of the body. So it completely switches the way you use energy. There are some caveats to both of them. And just to let you know that even on a low carb plan, you can have varying degrees of ketosis. I'm probably in ketosis and not really doing keto sometimes in my life. With a keto plan, it takes a long time to get into full ketosis, where you are only using fat as your energy source. Okay, so just know that some people it takes 3 days, some people it takes 3 months to get into ketosis. I'm not kidding. It depends on how long you have been in insulin resistance. I'll actually link that below. The other caveat is keto is not as easy as you think it would be. I did a little experiment with myself and tried to put myself into ketosis. I think I did it for about 2 weeks. I actually put this on video to show you what would happen. And I made the mistake of going, well, it wasn't very long. It was only like a half a day. But I went into something called the keto flu. Almost everybody has to go through that. Because when you switch over energy sources, what happens is that you deplete a lot of your electrolytes. You recover from it. You recover from that, but you deplete a lot of potassium, sodium. And so what happens is you go into you really do have like flu-like symptoms. I didn't go through it long. Some people go through it a lot longer, but I didn't gear myself up to it. So going into ketosis, full ketosis is a little more complicated, and you need to do it in a very intelligent way and know how to do it. Keto plan is hard to stick with, okay? I think it's very difficult to stick with because there is so much fat. I mean, when we're talking 70% fat, you are drizzling coconut oil and bacon grease, and you're eating, you're eating lots of avocados, which is great, but there's 70% of your calories need to come from fat. So I don't know how many people can stick to that in the long run. If you have stuck to a keto type of plan for a long time, let us know. We are not sure. Also, research has not been able to show us if that long-term ketosis is good, really good for us or not. We just don't know. It doesn't seem to be really harmful, but maybe a different way of doing a keto plan, and I'll talk about that at the end. The other problem that I'm having, the caveat for paleo and a keto plan is that they use a lot of not everyone, the not so clean keto people and paleo people use artificial sweeteners. I cringe when I hear that, when I hear them using aspartame and Splenda. We know what that does to gut health. We know that that's not the best way of doing it. And so, not the purists. I know the good paleo people don't do that, but a lot of keto people do it. And I have to cringe. The other problem is just unclean dairy and meats. That is what I put in my article. I see people eating tons and tons of meats and dairy that are conventionally raised. They are dangerous, folks. They are dangerous. When are we going to wake up? Grain-fed animals are dangerous to you. And they also carry too many hormones, exogenous hormones, that are going to create and wreak havoc in your body. Conventional dairy is so freaking dangerous. Do not consume it. So can I say that stronger? I don't know if I can. Don't do it. And because it creates hormone disruptions and all kinds of gut problems, and and you think you're gonna, you know, lose a lot of weight, and sometimes the weight stalls because of that. But this is another caveat. Paleo and keto, a lot of these plans don't include enough of the low glycemic veggies, okay? Because they're so afraid of the carbs. These are the slow burn veggies, and their carb load is so minuscule. It's crazy. It's like craziness to think that, you know, that celery is going to hurt you, or, you know, or even an avocado. These are not the kind of vegetables that are going to hurt you. What's a low, slow burn glycemic veggie? Anything but corn and potatoes and peas and winter squash and maybe beets. You know, I can't think of another. There's probably more, but everything else. Asparagus is great, and cauliflower and broccoli and all those great low glycemic veggies. You need to be eating more of them, because you will be hurting yourself if you don't get enough. So I really like Mark Sisson is more of a paleo guy, but he has written a keto book called the Keto Reset Diet. And he is such, I love the way he writes, because he really is a voice of reason when it comes to the keto people. Like, he just says basically those low glycemic, you just act like they don't have any carbs at all. There's no carb load at all in them. And I really think that's the healthier way. Remember, guys, we need to turn our plates completely around. 3/4 of that plate should be those vegetables. If you do that, your health is going to go to levels that you never thought possible. Hormones will get balanced. Your gut will start feeling better. You'll start having more energy, and you'll lose weight, for crying out loud. Isn't that what you wanted to do in the first place? So start doing that. Here's the other thing. I talked about the inflammatory dairy. I'm going to link my link to dairy about the low fat. We all know that keto wouldn't use low fat dairy. They'd always use just full fatted dairy. But what we're finding now is that the type of dairy that is most abundant in this country is A2 beta casein dairy. What we want is more of the A1 beta casein dairy, which doesn't cause the inflammatory effects. And we always want to do it organic, always organic, and grass-fed is the best that you can buy. That's becoming more available, so be looking for it. I know Trader Joe's and Whole Foods are getting it. I haven't looked recently to see if they have it yet. Here's another problem with both plans. This is both plans, keto and paleo. Too much meat. This is actually more for the paleos. Meat is wonderful. I love meat. I love the benefits of it, but too much is not wonderful. Too much of a good thing is not wonderful. It is a bad thing, okay? Meat is hard to digest. It also is very acidic and can create a lot of ammonia buildup in your blood, which can trigger a cortisol response. This is one of the reasons I think that the Atkins people come to this like plateau, because they've been eating boatloads of meat, not enough of those low glycemic veggies, and they're getting into trouble. With my patients, I tell them, every single one of them, that women should be eating under 6 ounces at each meal. Even 4 ounces would be better of some clean meats, even good ones. And men should be under 8, and 6 is the best, because the body will just say, another thing is that the body just says enough is enough, and a mechanism goes into place where it just says, okay, we're just going to store this as fat. Even if it has 0 carbohydrate, we're going to make insulin. We're going to make insulin, and insulin loves to store, it does its job so well, doesn't it? It stores it as fat. Now, if you want to get fatter, maybe you want to eat like huge, half of a cow, kind of hanks of Fred Flintstone meat, but I don't think you do. So just know that it's tough on your GI, and that it could lead to weight gain if your protein is too high. That's a caveat, okay? So what I do is I really try to keep my, to be honest with you, I can only cycle into keto once in a while. I don't do keto on a regular basis because I just feel like it's too hard to sustain. It might be good to do for 1 or 2 weeks, and then you come out of it and you do a more of a paleo plan. that's probably a good thing to do. But you're going to have to track your macros, and it's too hard to do them on your own. There's too many good apps out there. I use MyFitnessPal. There are other ones, but you can just push a little button. It'll show you nutrition. It is the best thing since, well, I don't want to say bread because we're not going to eat bread in either one of these programs, but it is the best thing since avocados when it comes to tracking your macros. It tells you the exact percentage. What I like to do, if you want extra weight loss, it's probably a good idea to keep your net carbs. Again, you're not going to count your veggies. You're not going to count your veggies in this, but your net carbs under 30 grams per day. Now, net is your total carbs minus your fiber. Okay, so remember that. That's not just all your carbs. It's your net is your total minus your fiber. Fiber kind of cancels out carbs, which is really great. And that's why vegetables are so important. I think that if you cycle keto once in a while, it's okay. I'm not saying that people can't be on it for long periods of time. Optimal protein, and again, this is not scientific, this is my opinion. Optimal protein macro percentages are 20 to 25% protein, 50 to 65% fats, and 20 to 25% carbohydrates. Okay, if you want to go lower on your carbs, you could, but that may be the best. And remember, remember this, guys, it's quality. It's all about the quality of the foods. Make your plate more about those low burn, slow burn, low glycemic veggies, and some meat, maybe a little bit of fruit, maybe a little bit of a whole, a good quality carb on that plate. But if you do that, you can't, I just don't see how you could go wrong. I'm not seeing it. So if you have tried paleo, if you've tried keto, would you comment below? Just say keto, paleo, and perhaps maybe you could even tell us how it went, or what your thoughts were. Did it work for you? Did it not work for you? I would love to hear your comments on that. And just remember to, if you could, follow me on Instagram and Twitter. And I do have a great Facebook page. It's a great Facebook page, Lindy Ford Nutrition and Wellness, that you could find some great recipes. And most of these recipes are going to fit into a paleo, sometimes a keto lifestyle. So not always, but many times. So be looking for that as well, and be liking that. And if you could subscribe to this channel, I would be oh so happy and joyous over that. So please subscribe, and just remember that everybody deserves the freedom of optimal health. Thank you.